After infidelity, some people feel a lot of emotions all at once. They might feel anger, sadness, grief, shock, fury, disgust. And it's like their brain and their heart just keep jumping back and forth between all these different emotions. And then for other people, they experience almost the complete opposite. They just feel numb. They know intellectually that what happened is devastating. They understand, and they might even have other people telling them that they should be angry, they should be enraged, they should feel shattered. But it's like they're emotionally disconnected from it. There can be this feeling like it almost happened to someone else, even though they're the one that's going through it. This feeling of numbness after being cheated on can be a pretty normal protective response. Your mind has to process experiences before it's able to fully integrate them. But when something happens that is too painful, too confusing, too emotionally overwhelming to deal with all at once, your mind can temporarily suppress parts of the emotional response, kind of bury them down, shove them away, and keep them for later. Essentially, your mind is saying, you're not quite ready to deal with this, let's just tuck it away. Because it would be a lot to try to deal with and grapple with all at once. There's the fact that your partner was involved with someone else. There's the fact that there were so many lies. There's trying to figure out the timeline, trying to understand the manipulation that was involved. The fact that someone that you trusted was capable of describing and maintaining a whole separate reality in a double life. You might be questioning your memories. You might be wondering which parts of the relationship were real. You might start comparing yourself to the other person or poking holes in your own self-worth. You have a lot of decisions to make as far as whether you want to stay or leave and what that would possibly look like. And then there's your own ability to just trust yourself, to make any decisions, to process any of this the right way. And so I listed out 10 things there that are all distinct tasks that most people have to wrestle with after infidelity. And sometimes feeling numb is your mind's way of saying, we can't do this right now. So the way that I think of it is that the plan that your mind has is to slowly pull the numbness back. Like imagine it's this blanket that's over you. It's to kind of pull it back, first expose your head, then your neck, then your shoulders, and just pull it off of you piece by piece so that you can process one layer of emotions and devastation at a time. And that's why there can be such surprising sequences when it comes to healing from infidelity. Sometimes people can be surprisingly calm and cool and collected for a couple of days or even a couple of weeks. They're handling practical decisions, going to work, taking care of the children, and appear completely functional. And then something small can happen. It can be a trigger, a certain song, their partner says a certain phrase, they drive past a particular location, and suddenly some of those emotions that were under that layer of numbness break through. And I don't think that this means that they're getting worse necessarily. It's more painful, but it might just mean that their mind actually feels safe enough now to begin processing that layer of what happened. The problem is when you get stuck there. Numbness is a great protection initially and temporarily, but you just don't want to live your whole life there. And I think that we develop a lot of fears and beliefs and theories about what would happen if we moved out from the numbness. You might be afraid that if you allow yourself to feel the sadness, then you would never stop crying. Or that if you let yourself actually start to feel how angry you are, then you would lose control, say things that you regret, or just become someone that you don't even want to be. But being numb is a horrible place to stay long term. You might not feel actively devastated because you are putting off some of the emotions that you don't want to deal with, but you also don't ever feel fully alive. You might struggle to enjoy things that you used to enjoy. You might feel distant, not just from your partner who cheated on you, but from everyone, children, friends, family, even things like work. It feels even more like just showing up, going through the motions, the little pieces of just connection with other people and feeling like you're part of a bigger project, even if you know it's ultimately not that serious, loses a lot of its color. Something important to recognize is that healing doesn't always equal feeling amazing right away. Sometimes moving from numbness into sadness can feel like you're taking a step backward. But I'd encourage you to flip it. I would encourage you to think of numbness as the bottom layer of an emotional pyramid, and things like sadness and anger are actually steps up from there because you're actually beginning to emotionally connect with what happened. So let's use anger as an example. The anger can feel a little destabilizing. It can feel uncomfortable, but it often is you connecting with the part of yourself that is able to and really best equipped to establish firm boundaries. especially in the future, whether it's in this relationship or another one. Anger is tied very closely to that part of you that knows what things are acceptable and what things are completely unacceptable. Anger can be what protects your dignity. Even things like embarrassment or shame, which can also feel like very low level emotions, things that we don't typically want to spend time in, they can be steps along the way as well. They might represent you becoming conscious of emotions that were previously buried or ways that you had allowed yourself to be treated that you want to make sure you never get treated that way again. So, in terms of the experience of joy while in the moment, yes, I admit that going from numbness to sadness or grief or shame or embarrassment can feel like a step down, but in terms of your overall actual healing, it is definitely a step up. You don't want to get stuck on any of those steps either for an indefinite amount of time, but they often represent movement. So, how do you get yourself out of feeling numb? Well, don't try to force yourself to feel everything that's underneath the numbness all at once. I really recommend just creating a life that feels productive and safe, and then processing the emotions as they naturally show up. So that means that if some sadness does show up one day, allowing yourself to cry. And the key thing is you probably were doing certain things while numbing yourself to prevent yourself from feeling that. So instead of crying, you might have immediately pulled out your phone and started just scrolling on TikTok. The key thing to do is to stop doing that, to allow enough space so that when those emotions do pop up, you just let yourself feel them. Then while you do this, you also want to make sure that you are grounded in the truth so that you don't let these emotions become a new story that you're living. And what I mean by that is you can feel the feeling of rejection without concluding, I was rejected because I'm not good enough. Or you can feel the embarrassment of trusting someone who betrayed you without concluding that it's foolish to trust people ever again. You can feel grief without deciding that that means that you're going to be stuck in this permanent state of sadness. There's a difference between just feeling an emotion, letting it in, letting it out, letting it pass, letting it do its thing, and identifying that your whole life is now that emotion. And if you currently feel numb, don't take this advice as saying that you have to rush it. Like I said, it's there for a reason. It's there to protect you and to give you the opportunity to begin processing these things in layers and in waves instead of having it all crush you at once. The main thing to check on is, okay, if you look at it at a 2 to 3 week basis, is the numbness exactly the same as it was 2 to 3 weeks ago? Or are there moments of emotions and life and feeling that are beginning to pop up? If there are, just keep sitting with those emotions as they pop up. But if they're not, then you might want to be a little more proactive. Sit down with a journal and just ask yourself what you're feeling. And if you don't even know, you can start asking yourself, what am I sad about? What am I angry about? Just start with those two for the sake of this video, having something practical you can walk away with. What am I sad about? What am I angry about? And don't force anything, but just begin writing. You might not feel all the emotions flood you at once, and that's fine. That's not the goal. The goal is to just send that signal to your brain like, I think I'm ready to begin dealing with bits and pieces of this because I'm tired of just being numb.